Welcome to Mornings with the Mayor. As always, and today, a very special show. Now, we've talked to you before about our veterans, the most important part, to me, of our country for the very reason that we're all here, you're watching, and I'm able to broadcast this today. And we have some very, very special guests with us today. Gina Accardo.
Yes.
Gina Accardo is with us today, and she is the Program and Management Analysis for Department of Veterans Affairs for National Cemeteries.
Correct.
Did I get that all correct?
You did.
Gina, well, first let me welcome you.
Thank you very much for
And
having
we'll
me.
be right back to you. And to my right, I have another gentleman here who is a veteran.
Yes.
And continues to work in that capacity as a volunteer.
Correct.
And very grateful for that and grateful for your service, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that very much. And it's John Gunny Sandle. He's a U.S. Marine Corps and he's retired. Why so young? You're retired. He's just laughing at me. You're still a young guy. Come on.
After 25 years, I had enough.
You had enough after 20, but
Right.
so you came back for more, right? So you're
Right.
back volunteering.
Yeah.
And John, or Gunny as everybody calls him, he's the commander of the Guardians of the National Cemetery. And he has a lot to tell us today. And if you don't mind, Gunny, and that's what you told me to call you.
Right.
That's his nickname is Gunny. I'm going to start with Gina over here because we'll let the ladies go first.
Absolutely. I used to be a Boy Scout, so I know ladies go
Okay,
first.
well, I think the veterans taught you that too.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies are first. Well, back to you, Gina.
Thank you.
And I want you to tell us a little bit about what you do. I know at your job, of all those things that I said you do. So if you could explain a little bit of that to us. And,
Sure.
And we're talking today about Washington Crossing National Cemetery. So let's focus on that. We're here in Bucks County, certainly Bensalem here. And we want to talk about how important that is.
Okay. Well, what I do specifically is I'm in charge of all the government contractors in the area for the national cemeteries, to include Beverly National Cemetery, Finns Point National Cemetery, Philadelphia National Cemetery, and Mount Moriah's Sailor's Plot and Naval Lot. And like I said, I oversee all the contractors and their grounds maintenance and make sure that our national cemeteries are up to National Shrine standards.
And boy, that is very important. I mean,
Yes.
to keep the grass cut. I'm just looking at a practical thing. To keep the grass cut and make sure that that those sacred grounds are kept the way they deserve to be kept.
And
So
our
that's-
standards are very, very strict.
And is that taken care of by the group of all the national cemeteries?
We have contractors that oversee our grounds maintenance, and they are veterans as well. They're usually veteran-owned contractors, so we like to keep it, everything within the veteran community.
And you do this on a daily basis?
Daily
You gotta
basis.
make sure that that's done?
Daily basis,
And where's
every
your home?
day.
home
My home
office?
base is actually in Washington Crossing.
Oh, okay.
We work out of Washington Crossing, and I oversee the grounds maintenance of Washington
Oh,
Crossing
wow.
as well.
So you're right at home here.
Right
then.
at home.
You're doing everything
Yes.
from here.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's great. We're going to go over to Gunny
Go
for
ahead.
for a brief moment.
Sure.
Any thoughts that you have, interrupt and bring them up to us.
Okay.
We want to make sure we get as much information out there as we can.
Absolutely.
And incidentally, we have Bob Craven with us today, who's chairman of my Veterans Advisory Board here in Bensalem, who'll be on very shortly. He has a lot of patience. He's sitting there watching us. So we'll get to Bob in a few minutes. Gunny, tell us what you do up there as a volunteer. And if you want, you can tell us a little bit about your years as a Marine and whatever you'd like.
My years as a Marine are not the important thing. My years of service at the cemetery, along with my fellow volunteers, is what I think is more important. The Guardians organization, as far as the Honor Guard is concerned, formed up just prior to the official opening of the cemetery in 2009 is when we started training. And we were trained by a group of individuals who were also taught at Arlington National Cemetery, and they were sent out specifically to train organizations like myself. We started out with 13 volunteers, 9 of whom made up the original Honor Guard. We conducted 7 simultaneous services on the first day of the opening, January the 20th, 2010. The next day, our regular work started and has been ongoing ever since. We have well over 6,500 veterans buried at the National Cemetery
Already,
currently. Yeah.
My goodness.
And I'm fortunate enough to pick up additional volunteers with the original 13 that we started out with. We now have over 65 members. The average age of our members, by the way, is about 72 years old.
Wow.
So we have a lot of veterans who are eager to participate. We try to make up a full complement firing party on a daily basis. I have a different team set up for each day of the week. We also have a live bugler to keep in compliance with the Department of Defense regulations for having a live bugler if possible. And in addition to the fact that we're trained to handle the firing party aspect of the job, we've also been cross-trained to handle the flag folding and presentation if the situation should present itself. And on a couple of occasions throughout the history of the cemetery, it has occurred. But for the most part, we work in consonance with the active duty or reserve military components. Each of the branches of the service provides a representative. They do the folding and presenting of the flag. We handle the firing party and the bugle.
So I think I heard you say that every day, does that mean that there's a burial there almost every day?
Right now, we're averaging 30 funerals a week of just veterans.
Oh my goodness.
My last report that I submitted to the state capitol was 134 veterans services we did in the month of September. But we're there Monday through Friday and during the normal operating hours of the cemetery.
That's almost incredible. I mean, I heard you correctly. 30 almost a week?
Yes.
30 veterans?
That is correct.
That's incredible.
Are
they all from Bucks?
Yes, and
Yes.
that's partially the reason why this location was selected as a national cemetery. Like approximately 150 years ago, Abraham Lincoln procured property and dedicated our first 14
By the
national
way, my
cemeteries.
favorite president.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. He dedicated our first 14 national cemeteries, and one of them is of which Philadelphia National, which we still oversee. But those particular cemeteries were chosen specifically for their geographical location close to Civil War battlefields.
Wow.
And so modern day, keeping with that tradition, the VA, through demographic research and geographical research, chooses their future sites of national cemeteries based on that and the vast population of veterans in the area. So there was definitely a need for a national cemetery in this area.
That's hard, really, honestly.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Yeah.
that struck me when you said that many, Gunny. And that's a tremendous amount of veterans passing away every week.
When we first started, we were authorized, or the national headquarters in St. Louis was authorized to schedule up to 12 funerals a day for the veterans. And we were averaging back then about 7 or 8. Right now we're averaging at least 9 missions a day. Not all of them are veterans. Some of them are spouses or dependent children. But we're averaging a minimum of 25 to 30 veterans a week.
Wow. That's good. Go ahead.
And like I said earlier, all the guys who participate are former military personnel from each of the branches of the service, including the Coast Guard and the Merchant Marine. And we all went through a minimum of 31 hours of training, and we go through supplemental training on a regular basis to ensure we keep up the safety and
Wow.
practical standards necessary.
Yeah, to hear this, Gina, and now everything's going through my head, and the families of the veterans are they buried in the same plot?
It's they're dependents, just as if they were active duty. If you're a dependent, you are also eligible, which means your spouse or dependent children under the age of 18 or under the age of 23 if you're in college, or an adult dependent if there's special needs or handicapped.
But are they buried in the same?
They can either be buried together, or if there's not enough room for the whole family, they will reserve or set aside a grave right next to them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it is.
Mhm.
See, I never knew that. That's something
Yep.
brand new.
Yeah,
Never realized that.
there's a lot of options too. I mean, we have cremation burials both in ground and above ground in marble columbarium niches, and we have casketed burials which have double depth pre-placed concrete vaults and crypts already in the ground, and all of this is free of charge. Basically, the veteran has paid the dues by serving our country. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I always say I did not serve,
Yeah.
and I always say I look up to every one of you, ladies and gentlemen, that served for us, to give me the opportunities that I've had, and I
Sure.
hope everybody understands.
Sure.
If you didn't serve, what they've done for us as a veteran, and continue to do. My goodness gracious, as we speak, all around the world. I mean, I just looked, and they were in Somalia, and they were at different places over there already that,
Yeah.
you know, we're not at war, but they have a job to do.
Right. And
For now, I'm going to give you the last word, and then I'm going to switch over to Bob Craven. So anything you'd like to speak or add on?
well, just want to let people know that the cemetery is there, and if you are a veteran and you are eligible, to take advantage of the cemetery, because the most important thing is the perpetual care that's given to these grounds. You know, a lot of times, not knocking private cemeteries, but, you know, after so many generations,
Yeah.
they say that nobody comes to visit. Well, these particular cemeteries are, the upkeep, like I said, they are national shrines. So they are kept up to a standard as if they're brand new. Like, for example, Philadelphia National Cemetery, one of the original 14 national cemeteries dedicated by Abraham Lincoln, it looks brand new. The stones are sparkling white. The grounds are maintained impeccably. And that's what we do. And that's the service that we bring to our veterans.
Well, Gina, honestly,
Thank you.
I'm so proud to have you here today.
Thank you.
And keep up the great work, and the word we will get out there. And I'm going to bring Bob Craven in now, who is our
Sure.
chairman of our advisory board
Okay.
here to the mayor, and who does a great job
Very good.
with the veterans.
Thank
God bless you and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Joining us now is Bob Craven. Bob is on the Mayor's Advisory Board for Veterans here in Bensalem. You are chairman.
Yes, I am.
And Bob, first of all, let me welcome you to the show, and let
Thank
me
you, sir.
thank you for the great work as a veteran that you do. As I always say, I tip my hat to you and thank all of the veterans. And what the great job you're doing here for
Thank you.
Bensalem for
Thank you very
veterans.
much.
And it's very important. Bob is our go-to guy on the Veterans Board. When I have someone come up with any kind of problem, we deal it off to Bob, and Bob tries to find the answers. And by the way, there are so many veterans out there that don't know what they're entitled to.
That's correct.
I mean, it's something that we see here all the time. I had a cousin that was 80 years old about 4 years ago, and his daughter came to me, and he wasn't, she said, I can't understand why my dad, all these years, he never got anything, wounded, Second World War, the whole thing. Anyway, we did some work and everything, and he started to receive benefits. He died a year later, but he was able. So to the veterans out there, if you're a veteran and you think you're entitled, or even if you don't think, make sure that you research and go into it. And Bob's here in our board here in Bensalem. He can help you and lead you to where you had to go. And again, Bob, thanks for being here. Today we're talking about Washington Cross National Cemetery, which you are a member of the Honor Guard.
I am,
And,
yes.
and speaking to Gunny, he told me it started with 13.
Yes.
So I understand it was you and 12 others. You were one
Gunny,
of the
I,
original.
and 11.
Gunny is, said there was 11 others. So
Mhm.
we have the originals with us today that I heard Gunny say there's approximately 65 today.
That's correct.
And Bob, let me, we'll go back to Gunny, but let me start out with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing and the importance of this?
Well, being with the Honor Guard up at the cemetery is very personal to me. It's I feel extremely proud to be able to do this. And it's something that once you experience, you'll never forget it. And the guys I work with up there are very dedicated. Some, as we get older, are not as able to handle some of the more strenuous activities, but we're there for every service of every veteran that is buried at that cemetery.
Well, that's it's so credible, and to think if you didn't have that up here, I know how long they fought to get to Washington Crossing National. There was something went on there for a couple of years that I know of.
Yes.
Back and forth between developer and different things going on up there, and now it's there, and we call them sacred grounds, but obviously they are. So
Yes.
and when Gunny told me that 30 a week, it just is incredible that many. How many veterans do we have, Bucks? And they tell me 60,000 maybe in Bucks alone. Is that a
I think it
good
was
number?
I would think,
62,000.
Oh,
yeah, I
okay,
would think
in
a
that
bit
area.
more than that. I would think in the township, Mayor, we have to have 5,000 or 8,000 here.
Right here in Bensalem.
Yes.
Yeah. So I hope they get to watch the show because they know how important. You know, this building is dedicated to the veterans.
Yes.
It was since the day we built it in 1992. It was dedicated on our 300th birthday. Bensalem's, and it was dedicated to that. And if you remember last year we had that Veterans Day here,
To save
where
our
we
troops.
honored all of the veterans of Bucks County that paid the price of dying in the line of duty. And we put a plaque up out here. We built a special place in the front of the building. Please visit. It's on the left of the front as you enter here. There's a big plaque with every one of their names on there from Bucks County and Bensalem, obviously. But that's how important it was to me that this building be named after them and that we continue to honor our veterans. And I guess the final honor, never final, but what you're doing is got to be something that, for the families.
The families are very appreciative, and it's very significant. It truly is.
Now, you have to go through that, Gunny, on a daily basis. Your heart has to go out to these families. Do you see it over and over and over again?
I was a casualty officer over 100 times when I was on active duty in the Marine Corps. So that experience was what prompted me to participate in this particular program. I'd like to add, I mentioned earlier that the average age of our volunteers is 72. We have 2 World War II veterans who were part of the Honor Guard. Both of them currently are 87 years old. One was in the Army and served in the Philippines. One was in the Navy and involved in the Normandy landing. And they're our 2 oldest members. Our youngest member is in his early 50s.
Sounds like you.
But I'm extremely proud of every one of them. They're a wonderful bunch of guys, and women.
Oh, obviously. But, I just to make a little light of something, we had Gina on here, a very beautiful young lady, and then we bring you up. And no, I was going to give you a compliment.
I know.
And we bring this handsome gentleman in here to follow. Where do you think I was going?
I thought you were going to the beast part of this.
You said it. I didn't say that. Anyhow, we always like that a little humor there, and how lucky we are here in Bensalem. And do you have any idea of how many from Bensalem are up there now, or is there?
I do not.
There are, though, right?
Yes, there are. There absolutely are. I know when the funeral homes from Bensalem come up there, but I don't necessarily know where the individual is from.
Yeah. Now, you have 65, you say.
Yes, sir.
How do you do that out for that many funerals? It seems like you need a lot of volunteers.
Well, not all the volunteers are qualified to handle weapons. So we have other responsibilities in coordination with the program that these gentlemen pick up on. We have radio operators who handle communication. We have people who handle the flags for each of the services. Because in each detail that we do, dependent upon the service of the veteran, we'll have an appropriate flag present, and there's a ceremonial protocol for that too.
Are you looking for volunteers?
We're always looking for new members. As some of our members mature and they realize they have reached their physical limitations, they need to step aside. We try to attempt to find other responsibilities for them, but we're always looking for new members to participate. The only primary qualification is that you have to be an honorably discharged veteran. After you go through, present your paperwork, join the organization, anybody can be a member of the Guardians organization, but to be a member of the Honor Guard, you must be an honorably discharged veteran.
Is that something that they would call Gina for? How would a volunteer get in touch with you?
They can contact us. We have a website.
Oh,
okay. And it says Guardians of the National Cemetery.
Guardians of the National Cemetery.
Yeah. And
so if there's anybody out there and you want to, and I'm sure you spread the word through here in Bensalem, right?
We do, and we also participate in a number of outreach projects for the cemetery. Many of the senior expos that happen in Bucks County we attend. Senator Tomlinson had one recently that he sponsored.
there was another one in Doylestown last week.
There was one in Doylestown last week.
Well,
so
Gene does his senior thing
yes,
too.
yes.
Yeah.
So we're there. We generally have a table. We'll have recruitment documents for our organization and pamphlets with information about the cemetery itself and the requirements. The general requirement for eligibility to be buried at the cemetery is to be an honorably discharged veteran. And with that, it's a phone call to the scheduling office in St. Louis. The 800 number has appeared on the screen here today. Or you can go on to the website, was also on the screen for further information.
Last word.
The last word. I'm very proud of my men and the work we do out at the cemetery, and I'm very glad the cemetery's here.
Gunny, God bless you and thank you, and keep up the great, great work.
Thank you, sir.
And give my regards to every one of your volunteers.
I certainly will.
Wish I could volunteer. That's one of the things I can't. But
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
and
thank you for having us
Oh,
today.
come on, anytime. But again, I hope that Erin Gina was here. You got a lot of information. I hope that if there's anything you need to know, Gunny, Bob Craven's here. You had Gina. You see her name up there and what she does. And you can call here at the Township. We'll give you any information you need to make sure that if you want to, you need on the veterans, and I will give you Bob Craven when that happens, and Bob on our Veterans Advisory Committee will make sure that all of that information that you give gets treated in a way that and respectfully the way it's supposed to be done. Until next time, everybody, God bless.